Good morning and welcome to News Agenda, Current Agenda, your most authoritative news analysis program. A program that brings the issues that have been discussed within the week into your homes, onto your mobile phones, bringing it before you to make your voice heard, discussing issues the way you discuss at home, in your offices, in the public transport, making your voice heard on a larger scale. This program, as always, is sponsored by Bank of Africa, the bank that thinks about you, issues that are of developmental interest, issues that would change or influence or divert or bring into perspective what we want as Ghanaians. One of such key issues is what happened this week, the famous butterfly, Dafa Franto, finally has evolved from being a movement into a political party. This week we had Mr. Alam Kojo Chamantin unveil the new United Party with a plus. We'll be having discussions with the General Secretary of, I believe, the UP to discuss what all this is about, why the need to move from a movement to a political party. What is it that a political party would give differently from a movement? What is the focus? What is all this talk about Vision 2040? Wanting to be a powerhouse for Africa, the economic powerhouse for Africa. What is it hinged on? How would the great transformational plan of, I believe, the United Party be able to move us to where it is that we want to go? We would have discussions with other panel members to look at how this eventually dovetails into the entire economic development plan of the country. Whether indeed this is the new force that would give competition to the duopoly we have had over a period of time. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Please reach our sales department at sales@gbcghanaonline.com and telephone numbers 0303-959604 and 0303-959605.
For all customer care issues, reach us by email care@gbcghanaonline.com and on telephone 030-3959-605 and 030-3959-606.
GBC, still the most authentic voice.
You heard the song that was just played. You watched the video. You can hear it in the background. It's talking about a very famous hotel, the Meridian Hotel. I'm sure if this song is played today to the youth, they would ask, why is this song so popular? What is it about this song? It's a song talking about me. In fact, they would ask, what is Meridian Hotel? Where is Meridian Hotel? And if you drive them to Tema to see what the song is about, what shame it has become. The Meridian Hotel was a place of glamour. It stood in Tema, and it was a symbol of the nation's optimism. How well the nation thought, how well the nation envisioned, how well the nation positioned itself to be the gateway of Africa. Somewhere in the 1960s, this infrastructure, this hotel, this edifice, at that time, even at that level of development, to think of such an infrastructure showed the vision of the leadership at the time. Dr. Osajefo Kwame Nkrumah. And this was a hotel that embodied elegance and sophistication. It hosted esteemed guests and dignitaries from across West Africa and across the globe. But today, it's a dumping site. Today, it's a heartbreak to see the Meridian Hotel. As to whether we can even still call it a Meridian Hotel, it's another topic for discussion. But when you visit the site today and you are told that 62 or 65 years ago, this was an edifice worth celebrating, you would ask yourself, what is our problem? That for 65 years, we cannot keep such an edifice. Governments have come and gone, and it stays the same. This was giving jobs. Imagine the number of chefs in the kitchen, the number of cleaners for the rooms, the number of attendants who pay attention to guests who come in, those who serve at the bars, the auxiliary jobs, people who supplied them fish for their kitchen, vegetables for their food, sheets for their beds. All of these people had families depending on them and depended on the income they make from the services they render here. All these people. Imagine what this would do to the economy in the Tema enclave, and to a larger extent, the entire Ghana, if this was brought back to life. Our problem has never been building. No. I always say that Ghana's competence is always in starting a project, in dreaming ideas, in CAPEX, capital expenditure spending, in procurement. We are number one. Our major problem is handling operational expenses to make sure that maintenance of such infrastructure are kept. Just look how this stands in the view of the Tema enclave. But just like every other, it's been left to rot. In the 1990s, where this was closed, it brought an end to an era where there are other countries, even just in Marrakesh, hotels that have been there as far back as 1928. We in Ghana hardly can boast of any business that has been passed on beyond 50 years. We will struggle to count them. We are proud to hit our chest and say that we gained independence in 1957. And we took over the affairs of the country and we managed it ourselves. We are proud to count how many years we have spent as an independent country. But really, are we independent in our thought and in our mindset? Until somebody outside comes to take this up, we as a people do not see. Are we that short-term minded that we only think of things that would survive us 5, beyond 80 years? In fact, what business in this country can we boast of that has lived beyond 60 years, beyond 70 years? The Meridian Hotel. As young as I was, I remember my uncles and my aunties carrying me on their shoulders just to go for an excursion to see this place. You travel out of the country and you see hotels and they are telling you the history of these hotels. And so does it mean that the hotels we have now that are state-owned or factories we have now that are state-owned, in the next 60 years, if we are alive, we'll have nothing to show of them to our grandchildren? Is that the kind of people that we have become? Is that the kind of people we are? Imagine if this is refurbished, what it would mean to the enclave. Business conferences coming back to the Meridian because of its historic symbolism. Imagine a cultural event. One of the reasons why when we were looking at building a cathedral, I was worried because in the next 60, 70 years, we would not even remember the reason why we did it, and it will be left to rot. There are many of these to talk about. See the Art Center. Would anyone have the moral courage as a people to think beyond the today and what comes into our pocket? Can we as a country encourage a system of excellence? Go to our stadiums and see our washrooms. Go to public places and see washrooms. Go to hospitals and see washrooms. And yet when you insist, you are rather called names. If you insist on excellence, you are rather considered and seen to be something else. This is not the Ghana we hope for. And I'm saying this because we all believe we are in a reset agenda. And the reset is not only with our physical infrastructure, the reset is with our thinking, our mindset, how we see things, how we envisage things. We can't be talking about sustainability, talking about SDGs, talking about ESGs, when we are not able to protect the future for tomorrow. What is the going concern for Ghana? How sure are we that there would be a proud Ghana tomorrow for our children, for our grandchildren? These things keep me worried and gives me sleepless nights. And I hope, as I've brought this up, the authorities that be would not just look on and say, it would pass, because in Ghana we'll discuss it for a week and it will be gone. The Meridian Hotel. Mr. Asamoa.
Yes.
I'm sure, I mean, you are older than I am, so I'm sure you know the story of the Meridian Hotel way better than I do. I'm sure in your younger days you've gone there to even enjoy life there one way or the other.
The last thing I wanted to remember this old money was my age, because we just gave birth to a party which is old and young. I prefer to be on the younger side of the new party.
But I mean, it's sad.
Yes,
you know, for me, even with you, knowing what the United Party, I mean, when it was the movement for change, the launch of the GTP,
yes,
we're talking about transformational plan.
Yes.
Even the recent unveiling, we are talking about an agenda 2040.
Yes.
And we are looking at things done 60 years and they could not survive.
So the largest question is whether we have a national vision tuned to Ghanaian aspirations. So you then must first identify the Ghanaian and the aspirations.
Right.
And then a plan to drive those aspirations, which successive governments will continue incrementally. At the moment, that's our biggest problem. We don't have a national plan that is being driven incrementally by successive regimes. We don't have an identity that says that this is Ghanaian. And I like the washroom bit. I once said somewhere that until we fix our public washrooms, we can't say we are in charge of ourselves and that we are independent. You go to an airport and you can't use the washroom. That's not good enough. So, breaking it down, we have a situation of excessive distortions in policy because of the different governments, military, the interruptions in governments, as well as partisanship. The Fourth Republic, in particular, has seen very deep partisanship. So what happens is that successive governments criminalize everything they came to meet. So every 8 years, maximum 8 years, sometimes 4 years, everything that has been done is simply abandoned and new initiatives started. The interesting thing is that sometimes it's just a renaming, a rebranding. Now, in that process, monies are lost, loans that have been, so you have debt. Technical people who have been trained are sidelined because you are perceived to be of the previous regime and you are in charge of this. So you have to be pushed aside with costs. Cost in terms of knowledge, intellect, cost in terms of continuity, because you have to understand what you are implementing. So there's poor implementation when we change regimes and move things around. And of course, ultimately, more debt. Then, worst of all, you have the capacity limitations. Because we are not trusting each other, because we are not trusting Ghanaians to continue to conceive, develop, plan, and implement our objectives, our development objectives, our Ghanaian aspirations, we are being dictated to. And the things we choose to invest in for public purposes, for public benefit, tend to be at variance with what we really need. So you have all manner of small development projects running around, NGOs, international, bilateral agencies, all manner of little projects. And governments are saddled with all these projects. Go to the Ministry of Agri. Acronyms littered across the place.
I should be a nation of acronyms.
Acronyms littered, and yet we are still today crying that we're harvesting yams that are not being bought. But you are sitting here with me. You are hosting this show. You're a banker. You don't have time. Now, in this era, you close and somebody has farmed and made yams, dambai, and the yams have been dug up from the earth with all the soil and loaded onto an old Albion truck and transported over difficult roads all the way to Accra, unloaded at a market, and you have to go there and buy one whole yam, not standard size, with all the debt. That's half the farmland in Dambai is being transported to Accra in the first instance. Go home, eat a quarter of it, and the rest goes to waste. So, where we are, we don't have Ghanaian expertise of all these engineers who can freeze-fry yams, freeze-dry yams in Dambai at the farm gate, so that you can say that there are 10,000 second cycle schools who will eat yam twice a week. So every week from Dambai, you have packaged yam, either coming in by air or by refrigerated truck or by whatever, and it's simply coming in to be distributed as in ready to eat. So you go into an institution, the prisons, 10,000 packs of yam or 2,000 packs of yam, simply put it in an oven, pass steam over it for 10 minutes, ready to eat. This is progress. This is development. And Ghanaians can do it. But we are not depending on Ghanaians. We are not relying on Ghanaians. We are not building capacity. So what we are doing is that we are training ourselves into a lack of usefulness. So we have engineers who are driving cars, whose cars are being fixed by fitters they don't respect. This is our capacity situation. You are trained to build machines, but you are not practically being put on any machine building effort because there's no national process behind that. So the very machine you yourself are using, that you have been trained to build, you go to an informal person who has trained themselves. And the unfortunate thing is that even the informal person, we don't recognize them. That informal person is such a critical part of our economy. We don't recognize them. Meridian Hotel, maintenance. Through a lack of maintenance, we are losing our culture. And we are losing our achievements, our proprietary achievements. Because what you are saying is a time and era that today we should have been proud to be part of.
Yes.
This is an independence era
Yes.
thing as part of that vision. If we had kept it going, you could today send your kids there and it's all part of it.
I mean, see when the Kwame Nkrumah Museum was refurbished. See the traffic that goes there.
Yeah, but even the word refurbished, it had to go all the way down. You see, maintenance doesn't wait for things to go all the way down.
I agree.
Every time you have to keep it polished. You have to, and when you do that, they look even better than new things.
Yes, I agree.
How come we don't have a culture of maintenance? How come we always let things run down before we go and look for money to break down and rebuild? Because the Meridian now, you have to break it down.
Yes.
You can't refurbish that structure. So it's
I mean,
there.
maybe
and
the politician or maybe the decision makers don't make money from maintenance because that's an operating expense.
Yeah,
It's very little margins.
But that is one of the things we must insist on.
Procurement is where you can make money.
That is one of the things. That is one of the things that we must look at, whether politics is delivering with quality, and that is one of the things that the United Party is bringing forward. That we are coming in prepared. We prepared the GTP last year in the campaign season well before anybody else, any of the competing parties, and we specifically stated that it wasn't a pack of slogans to attract people and move on. It was a plan, and the GTP covers every sector of our economy, including, above all, entire restructuring of state institutions to cut out the redundancies, make it lean, and focus us on delivering the policies that matter to improve the lives of Ghanaians. The GTP is a very strong document. So we sat down and thought things through. So we now need to go to that era where we demand of our politicians that rigor of thought, that ability to stand by the concepts they come up, and also decisiveness. Because now somebody must decide to break down that hotel. But having run it down, successive governments are afraid to touch it because they believe it's a cultural monument. How can you have rubbish as a cultural monument? I mean, not rubbish as in the building, but look at the rubbish strewn at the back. It's a rubbish dump, literally. How can you have that a cultural monument? There is no culture left in it. Our progress has been... So finally, on that matter, there is a larger question about who drives economic growth in our state. Because you realize that at independence, we had a state-led approach. So all these hotels and things where you speak to it, about 30% of our economy is in a black hole in the SOE sector. We can't even account for it. But it's government, it employs people and all that. So the question of accountabilities in those areas, the question of decision-making, decisiveness, the question of capacity, the people who are appointed, politically appointed people who may not even have technical capacity to run the operations they are given, as compared to private sector-driven approaches. So UP, United Party, and the Great Transformational Plan that drives us is saying that we want to turn Ghana into an enterprise economy. We're a centrist party. So for enterprise economy, we want the private by government, not excessive regulation, but enough to protect social access, enough to protect certain kinds of service. So you regulate and protect the vulnerable whilst getting the private sector to deliver the service. You get a good balance. And that is what we want. Because we know that innately, Ghanaians can do it. Ghanaian cash crop farmers built the first Ghana. The Ghana that Gajisbek started, the Kolebu and all those. The money didn't come from England. They were not interested. They just wanted to extract. So, as part of the extraction, some of the excess profits and the taxes is what they started using to build our social infrastructure, hospitals, roads, railways, and all that. As they were extracting, so there was value to what our farmers were doing. And some of our oldest towns, biggest towns, are due to these private sector investments at that time. Aguna Swedro, Asante New Town. You got these huge buildings. They were built by entrepreneurial cash crop farmers.
It's interesting when, I mean, you mentioned that the United Party and then the Great Transformational Plan,
Yes.
This is what it seeks to achieve. My question is, what was the need for the change? Why could this not have still been achieved as a movement for change? Why the need to shift from a movement to a political party?
That's very interesting. First of all, there are different characteristics from a movement and a political party. A movement tends to be entirely voluntary. You have volunteers who support. So managing that and making sure that everybody is properly placed to do the right thing at the right time is not the easiest, because you don't have specific tasks ahead of you, as it were. But you can do well with campaign support and all that, which we did. But this lack of structural strength was exposed during the election itself, when we believed that we didn't get a fair reflection of our effort.
You believed it better than what was shown?
It was a fact. It was a fact. We had numerous people. We had people who came in from abroad to vote for us, who were standing at polling stations waiting to hear the numbers, and were told that they had 0. You understand? Because we didn't have the infrastructure to protect our vote. And it's something that saddens me, that after 9 elections in the Fourth Republic, if you are not standing at the polling station, the EC cannot guarantee the count for you. It's sad. It's sad that there are jurisdictions where you vote even remotely or sit at home and you guarantee that your vote will be counted in the direction that you really put it. But in our case, if you are not there physically, in terms of an agent policing the authority that's supposed to give you your vote, then you may not have your vote. And as a movement, we didn't have that infrastructure to protect the vote. A political party is structured by law. The law demands that you have certain structures which penetrate all the way to the ground. So by law, you need to have certain people in certain positions doing certain things. And that structure brings with its functional thing. So the people who join are more directed, better. So that is how come after the movement, members drove the leadership. But look, we had problems because we're a volunteer force and we didn't quite manage to be structural. And therefore, please move forward and form a party because we need you. We need each other. We want to provide a credible alternative. We've had enough of what's going on. We can't afford to let this opportunity slip. So that is why, on the urging of our supporters, we've moved from a movement to a political party.
But out of all the names you could have taken on this earth,
Yes.
why UP?
Brilliant. UP is the best name possible. UP is the best name possible because, you see, we are looking at values. And the UP established the most basic of values in our system: political freedom, liberty. And it was almost by accident. What happened? The original parliament after independence contained groupings that were broken along different lines. The Northern People's Party were essentially protecting their land, their ethnic base, and chiefs, traditional authorities wanted to secure the place and grow their people. You had religious people, Muslim Association Party. You had business people and decentralization people, NLM. Yes. They wanted federation. They wanted to govern themselves. They didn't want to come under the national umbrella. So decentralization was in there. You know, you had the Togoland Congress. You had all these ones who were all interested.
About 6 or 7 of them.
Shifimope, Gashifimope, and so all of them had sectional interests. So in an attempt to suppress them and take full control, Kwame Nkrumah threatened that if you were not of a national character, you were gone. Yeah. So he passed the Avoidance of Discrimination Act. And that spurred them to realize that they were going to lose their political space entirely. So they had to come together and synergize themselves in order to have a spread. As 7, they had a spread across. So that coming together to form the United Party preserved the right to association, preserved the right to movement, preserved the right to free speech. These were not rights at that time. Because they are in the Constitution now, a lot of people underplay them. People make assumptions. These were not rights at that time. So they are coming together, actually fought for and cemented political freedoms and liberties. Beyond that, like I said, it also maintained the assumption of decentralization, federal government, because they were still part of it. They were still advocating for local government and all that. It also preserved the idea of private sector, because you had the NLM business merchants and all that. So these are values that we think are foundational to Ghana. So that's one. That's why we went all the way back. Right. The second thing is that we realized that uniting around an issue helps to bring people to the center. We are a centrist party. We want to bring left, right in Ghana together into the center to resolve Ghanaian problems, like the Meridian Hotel, to have a plan that Ghanaians can buy into, to get rid of the excessive partisanship. So what better than to unite around something? And now we want to unite all sides around the economy. That's why the GTP is so foundational. We want to unite all sides around a credible plan that will deliver consistent, sustainable, resilient prosperity to Ghanaians. So the UP has two purposes. Purpose one is to identify the core values of political freedom, liberty, democracy, as espoused by the united group who came together in spite of their differences, because they were different. But in protection of politics, they came together. So you can unite around something. Now, fast track it to today, having absorbed those things. We also now want people, so we've transitioned from that UP to the new UP, more or less. Plus. The UP Plus, UP 2.0.
It felt like you're an iPhone.
You know, which UP is now asking Ghanaians to come together around the need to develop our economy. The politics, we've managed to survive. At least we are the threat of disruption, unscheduled disruption, it seems to be urgent. But all we have now is transitions, political transitions. Now those transitions have inbuilt damage to the economy. Because like I said, excessive partisanship is such that after every transition, everything that's been done economically is abandoned. Look at what's happening with businessmen. You have a new government, so businesses are being attacked. Things are being broken down, contracts are not paid because you're a businessman and you're associated with the previous regime. But businesses are supposed to drive wealth. Businesses are supposed to drive incomes. Businesses drive employment. So the people we are turning out of the schools, 500,000 youth every year, technical as well as administrative, trained and untrained, ought to be able to flow into these businesses which should be there over time and grow. Mercedes-Benz,
during the unveiling, I believe the founder, because now I'm calling him a flag bearer because I'm sure you...
No, he's not a flag, he's the interim leader. All of us are interim executives.
Okay, so your interim leader said something profound, which I would
he's still the founder.
Yeah, he's the founder.
Founder and interim leader.
Okay, great.
And then we'll have other founding members across the country.
Okay, he says, this is a new dawn that will end the divisiveness or the divisiveness, acrimony, and rancor in politics in Ghana. A new dawn that will end the duopoly in Ghana politics. And the last one is what caught my attention. A new dawn that will eliminate the culture of winner takes all.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay. So now, this new dawn is that we are used to two dominant parties. And that we want to move beyond those dominant parties. A new dawn that will give us a credible alternative to those two parties that Ghanaians can elect to deliver. But the last one, winner takes all, is our biggest problem. Winner takes all is where a winning party takes all the executive authority of the country into the presidency. Executive authority, the presidency, is not shared with anybody except the winning parties. For example, if you go to an election, one gets 50 points.
50% plus one.
50% plus one. Then the 49 are frozen out of decision making. That's called winner takes all. So what happens is that the winner will then take decisions which may not favor the 49. And the 49 have no way of slowing that down, except to insist that when it is their turn, over a certain number of years, they will reverse everything that they did agree
At least
with.
that will be in the executive. It will not be
The executive
in...
initiates and maintains anything on its own. Virtually, the construction of our constitution is very exclusive. Power is heavily vested in the executive over the legislature as well as the other arms of government. So we've submitted constitutional reforms for that. So now, winner takes all. We've explained that. What is bringing it about? It is the construction of our constitution. Article 63, 4, and 5. Article 4 says that, Article 63, 4 says that whenever we have an election and nobody gets 50 plus 1, there should be a runoff. Agreed. Now, during a runoff, and most of the time there are runoffs in this country, which means no party is truly dominant. Let's make that clear. No party of the two is truly dominant because we've had runoffs all the while. So when there's a runoff, where do they go? They depend on smaller parties and build partnerships to cross 50 plus 1, after which they take the benefit of that, dump the smaller parties, and empower themselves in government. You understand? So what is happening is that whenever there is that cycle, the smaller parties shrink. There's no incentive to vote for a smaller party because you don't believe that they can win. And therefore, if you don't get into any of the bigger parties, you are stuck. You cannot deliver of your talent and your best. So now, they don't respect voters. They have a revolving door. They banter amongst themselves. They don't care about effectiveness and policy. They simply know that after 4 or 5 years, 4 or 8 years, they are likely to revolve and come back into power by themselves. So we are saying, as he said there, that he's going to get rid of winner takes all, that we should do away with the requirement for a runoff entirely. If we go for an election and a party makes 50 plus 1, all well and good, straight away they are in the presidency. If a party does not make 50 plus 1, instead of a runoff, we expect that party to partner with smaller parties and build a coalition that will take it beyond 50 plus 1 and go into government with them. Because if they are good enough to support you to win a runoff, they should be good enough to help you to govern. So we are building on the idea of coalitions, coalition governments. Now, if you have a coalition government, it means that the junior parties will be empowered by the experience of being in government, and they will also grow. And other talents that are excluded by the two can get in through the junior parties.
Interesting.
You understand?
Yes, I get it.
So you expand the space for inclusion. It's all about inclusion.
Right.
So the more junior parties become powerful, the more likely Ghanaian talent from across board will be infused into the political system.
That's interesting.
Without threat.
So back to the name UP. Did the Electoral Commission raise any concerns with the use of that name?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because there's no problem. This is something, the use of which has lapsed. The UP was formed on 3rd October 1957 and inaugurated on 3rd November 1957. It was proscribed by law in 1964 when Kwame Nkrumah turned the Ghana into President Nkrumah. I'm sorry. I tend to be a bit conservative. President Kwame Nkrumah used the National Assembly to proscribe all parties and establish a one-party state. So having established a one-party state, the UP, by law, was killed, dead. In 1966, when the military came, it was emphatically re-killed again when all political parties were proscribed after the coup. You understand? So now, by law, and by lapse of time, it's available for use because it is not there. That legal entity is not there anymore.
It was not trademarked, it was not patented.
No, nobody trademarked or patented it. You can't. Nobody did. And in any event, the ideological stream is different from the physical name. Those who are misquoting the ideological stream with the physical name are totally mistaken. So the name itself is gone at that time. It's finished. So it can be revived by law because it's not even under the 1992 Constitution.
Right.
It's not known to the 1992 Constitution. So under the 1992 Constitution, you have the CPP. The CPP was proscribed. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
So why do we have a party that's CPP? Because you are entitled to use the name in this new era. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, those who say that the name is associated with the ideological stream and therefore they own the ideological stream, that's the most ridiculous argument of all.
I can tell.
How can you lay claim to a whole ideology?
Okay, now let's look at the Vision 2040, the economic powerhouse of Africa. Yeah. At the time when he was announcing this, I heard him say that if you look at the two political parties, he asked whether anybody could tell their vision. For me, it was interesting and telling because Mr. Alan Kojo has been a founding member of the New Patriotic Party up until 2023 when he, for want of a better term, broke away.
Yes.
So for him, after all these years, just 2 years after, to ask what the vision of the party is, was interesting. Because he's saying that he was part of a visionless party for all these years.
Not really.
To 2023.
Not necessarily. You have a corporate structure which ascribes to something. And when you are part of that corporate structure, then you will also ascribe to it by default. Even in a private company, you have to belong to the company's mores, norms, and all that. If you're fortunate and you have a very powerful personality, you can influence that they are property owning democracy. This quotation from Dankwa, which is on the front page of our constitution, that literally is the vision of the party. To run a property owning democracy with private sector support, liberty for the individuals, and all. That's the vision. But coming forward to today, what Alan is saying is that we need to narrow and sharpen our focus. For example, while that vision exists, MPP governments have come and subscribed to Vision 2020 and poverty reduction strategy and all that. So how do those things that the IMF imposed on them sit with their constitutional vision? You understand what I'm saying? So it's not mutually exclusive. So what he's saying is that the new party, given his experience over the years, this is an accomplished corporate professional, an accomplished politician, an accomplished international public servant. He is bringing a sharper focus to the vision for moving Ghana beyond where we are. That basically is it. He's not accusing anybody of being visionless, but he's saying that we need to evolve. And the UP is evolving a vision which will focus on the economy. Is it the politics? We will do it. But we are all focusing on the politics and forgetting about the economy. So that focus on the economy, what will drive resilient prosperity? We must have a path where Ghana will grow and become rich. But when Ghana is rich, the people within Ghana will be rich. Because it is the efforts of the people within Ghana that will build the GDP, that will give us the taxes to build our own roads, build our own hospitals, instead of borrowing money all the time. We borrow money to provide drinking water. It's not sustainable.
In 2000, Mr. Gusitano broke away from the NDC to form the... In 2006, Asamoa also moved to do the Democratic Freedom Party. In 2012, Pakwesi Ndum also moved from CPP to do the PPP. Then our former First Lady, Nana Kunedu, also moved from the NDC to do the NDP in 2012. Then there was Hassan Ayariga moved from PNC to do All People's Progress. Then Movement of Change now has become United Party. The one common thing with all of these people was that they were disgruntled with their party. So like the typical Ghanaian young boy playing the football, gets disgruntled, catches his ball, I won't play again, goes home to go and play, only to realize that I can't play alone. Many years later, brings the ball back for us to play. Is that what we should expect of the UP future?
No, absolutely not. And I've been part of the history of all that you're saying. I witnessed everything live. And I agree with you that there were reasons why all these people left and formed their parties. But perhaps those reasons were not founded on sustainable principles. The difference here is that we are very clear in our minds what is at stake. And that is why we believe we'll be sustainable. Now, what is at stake? It is the inability of the dominant parties to drive us forward economically. That's what is at stake. The inability of the dominant parties to decide to work together on a common approach, common plan that they will all support incrementally. It is the inability of them to exploit Ghanaian capacity, Ghanaian technical expertise, and to leverage Ghanaian assets to drive Ghana forward. So we are saying that we are coming to fill that gap. And it is akin to what happened with the United Party in the beginning, a survivor of politics. Because they needed to survive politically, they came together and established freedoms inadvertently. Because we need to survive economically and move forward before the debt swallows us, before we just talk about exchange rate and all that, we need to come together around the economy. And that is our strong point. We are not just a single party grumbling about leaving the MPP or whatever. The MPP is history now. We want to bring Ghanaian talent across the divide into a center. We are a centrist party. Centrists are pragmatic people. Centrists find balance. Centrists find workable solutions to problems.
So you are saying that if the MPP, by chance, should elect Kennedy Japan as their flag bearer, we will not see the UP come back?
The MPP is doing their own thing. As to whether it's responsive to the needs of the people, I doubt. We are putting forward a framework that should be responsive to the needs of the people. And we are saying specifically that at the moment, our biggest challenge is appreciation of where we are economically and a plan to move the economy forward.
Is that a reason why the amnesty branch that the MPP extended?
It is useless. We are not interested in that. We are interested in bringing Ghanaians from all sides. MPP, NDC, CPP, PNC, GCPP, around the threat of the economy. Just like the United Party of old came together from different sides around the threat of protecting their liberty and freedom. We want to bring everybody into the center and deal with the threat of the economy.
Okay.
Because where we are headed, without resolving that problem centrally, for everybody to buy in and follow a plan, we will collapse.
So we have a new government in power now. 9 months or a bit of days after 9 months into governance, it looks like the macroeconomic, which is one of the contexts or considerations of the GTP, seems to be doing well. It looks like the agenda for development seems to be doing well. There is the big push. There's all this talk of investment into infrastructure to want to build and revolve and re-evolve the economy. If we are talking about Vision 2040, which can or should be done by the UP, if the current government is already doing it, then what's the use?
I love the word seems.
Well, from here, from where I
use
sit,
seems. Exactly. Yes. I love the word seems.
I mean, dollar is 10. It was 14 before. It was 17 before. It's 10.
There's
so
substance, there's normative, and there's substance. Normatively, the names are there, the acronyms are there, the big push. You know, we had a big push before. Do you remember the 10 billion Hope City?
Yes.
We've had all these before. So at the end of the day, it's about substance. What comes out when their time is up? In 4 years, a voter should be able to go forward and assess whether the things you talked about, whether the exchange rate has been sustained, whether we've built up a buffer that is delivering roads, and whether we are all beginning to realize that there's participation in the economy, sustainable participation in the economy, whether we are beginning to get something out of it that calms us down, whether we are reducing the resort to borrowing, whether our public services are beginning to work and serve us. You know, these are tangible outcomes that you look at when the regime time is up. At that time, the UP will compete. The UP is bringing together a coalition. That coalition will pass and see. That they are working and they've had 9 months doesn't mean we should relax, because we have 3 more years to determine whether or not what they are doing now is sustainable. Yes, so there's no time frame, there's no time bar, there's no entry bar to establishing a front where you also can come out with policies that may appeal to the people.
You've been an MP before.
Yes.
So you know very well how the voters behave during campaigning time.
Yes.
Your founder says that one of the great feats of your party was that 9 months of campaigning, people were rushing for your T-shirts.
Yes.
You know very well how voters want T-shirts, whether it's MPP or NDC. Is that a mark of a growth of a party?
It was different. I was on that campaign. It was organic. I once almost lost my eye in the market.
In exchange for T-shirts?
Yeah. Women, market, aprons. And they were clamoring for it. This was in Nigeria, clamoring, market day. And they were all chasing us for. So I had a few, and I wrapped it in a plastic bag, black plastic. I thought I would sneak it into the crowd and give it to their leader. Somebody apparently saw it from behind. They snatched it over the top of my head, and one of the apron strings fell below my eye. And they were dragging it, and I almost lost an eye. It's not just about having a T-shirt. We were in a town where the MPP head were there and came to try and crash our event. And I was outside. When they came, they were trying to distribute T-shirts. Nobody bothered. This is a town in the Ashanti region. Nobody bothered. So we hadn't that many T-shirts. She had already distributed most of the T-shirts at the rally. It was an informal rally in the marketplace. So I went into my car and found a few. When I stepped out, right in front of the MPP truck, whose T-shirts were being rejected, the people rushed. Barely 5 T-shirts were vanished in seconds. Wow. In a rush, it's gone. The people felt a certain refreshing breeze from movement. People believed that there was hope of change. Look, 2 million people didn't come out to vote. Have you thought through that? These are people who knew that by not stepping out to vote, they were guaranteed to go into opposition. And yet, they were so disillusioned with the leadership they had, they were so disillusioned with the policy platform they were supposed to support, that they simply refused to come out. How could 2 million people have taken that decision spontaneously? They didn't meet in a rally. It goes to show how deep the apathy has become. That people simply have lost hope in what they are being offered by the dominant two. So the assumption that the dominant two will always be dominant is being eroded. That is what movement told us, that there was room for a third. However, you needed to institutionalize and entrench in order to give the people who want to come on board the full benefit of participation.
Mr. Buaben, so I give you 1 minute. An experienced broadcaster. You look into the camera.
Yes, sir.
You speak to the people, appeal to them, the all-inclusiveness you're talking about,
right,
and tell them about United Party.
I just want to assure Ghanaians that there is no safety in sitting with the duopoly who are a revolving door because they assume that they will always be in power. They really don't care about your concerns. They are interested in protecting themselves. So excessive corruption, disruptions to your processes, all these things are not safe for you. So it is native will sustain you, and you can try it, and if you are not happy, you can always go back to where you think you are safe. But now, an economic program that you can participate in, one that will take care of your concerns, one that will be transparent, one that can help you to achieve your Ghanaianness. The UP will bring Ghanaians on board to work for Ghana for the benefit of Ghanaians. So we are bringing everybody from left, right, center on board. We are a centrist party. If you have association with NDC, you want to come, we are open to you. If you have previous association with MPP, you want to come, we are open to you. CPP, come on board. Everybody involved, come on board, because this is where you will find your home. This is where you will find the space to grow, because now you are not growing. Even when you are a member of the duopoly, you are not growing. You are being suppressed. So we are offering you a credible alternative. No corruption, respect, and of course, growth through clear plans for economic development. Okay. Welcome to the United Party.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Yao Buaben Asamoa, the General Secretary for the United Party. thank you very much for your time. I'm sure we'll talk more.
I am so happy
get
for
to
the
know
opportunity.
more of the GTP.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Viewers, we'll be taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking into other pertinent issues. My panelists, my guests will join me. Again, we'll speak about the UP, what the other political parties, the MPP thinks, what the NDC thinks. We would go into other issues that have been troubling or have been on the landscape, on the media space within the period. We'll delve into it and then we will digest them. See you right after this break.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Where clean water and effective waste management are crucial, where well-designed roads and drainage systems are vital, and in a nation where innovation and technological progress are advancing, then the question will be, where is Ghana positioned in her urban development? What efforts are stakeholders making to ensure that our urban cities are livable? Join me and the professionals as we delve into the root causes and examine practical solutions, raise awareness, drive change, and strive for a cleaner and safer environment that can impact our daily lives. Watch Public Concern on GTV this and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Public Concern, the urban agenda.
Meet Kwame. He's not just any Kwame. He's Kwame the TV license legend. Kwame knows that by paying his TV license, he's supporting GBC, our public service broadcaster, and he's making a real difference. Kwame's contribution helps bring our communities closer together. Because of Kwame and others like him, we will all have access to amazing TV programs, educational content, plus broadcasting infrastructures are maintained and our culture is beautifully promoted. So GBC is asking all to respond to this civic obligation and pay your TV license fee. For individuals, it's 3 CDs per month or 36 CDs per year. If you have multiple sets, meaning 2 or more in your household, it's 60 CDs per year. For commercial institutions, it's your number of TV sets by 36 CDs per year, and you pay the invoiced amount directly to GBC. So let's all take a moment to appreciate Kwame, the TV license legend. Wherever you are, just dial *447 *333# and follow the prompt. It's your civic duty, so pay your TV license today. GBC, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana.
And Asamoa swings it to the far post. Asamoa has the ball and does the open goal for Asante Kotoko.
The venture to Africa is back. It is a mission to restore the Porcupine Lads and reclaim our mastery. Asante Kotoko is facing the Wydad Athletic Club of Morocco in the CAF Confederations Cup. Watch the matches live on GTV Sports Plus, Max TV, GTV, Obonu TV, and Garden City TV. Sunday, 19th October 2025 at 3 p.m. sharp. Then the return leg on Friday, 24th October 2025. It is CAF Confederation Cup match between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Wydad Athletic Club of Morocco at the Accra Sports Stadium. Watch it live on GTV Sports Plus, Max TV, GTV, Obonu TV, and Garden City TV. Wukuma Pima Apembeba, fabulous.
Welcome back to Current Agenda, your most authoritative news analysis program, your Saturday morning companion. Thank you for staying with us for the first 1 hour of the program. This program is proudly sponsored by Bank of Africa and by the National Petroleum Authority. Well, back in studio, we are going to look into some pertinent issues. The National Service Authority is again in the news. Within the week, we heard that the DG or the former DG and his deputy were charged. We heard that the court hearing could not happen because the deputy had a medical excuse duty, and so the case has been adjourned till when the medical excuse duty elapses. And so we would want to discuss into the issue and figure out not to judge or to pass judgment because it's in court now, and so we cannot do that, but to look into the matter. What really is the issue? Why are they in the news? What has happened? What is happening with them? Well, to do that, I have in studio the gentleman in the nose mask. I'm sure half of his face is covered, so people will not be able to tell who he is. But that's Ni Papo Ado. He's a member of the NDC legal team. Ni, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
What's happening with you with the nose mask?
Oh, I've had a bit of a battle with the cold this week, so.
Should we get you a hot coffee?
Oh, I think what I have is good.
Right. Then next to him, we have a lecturer, and he also is a political science department. He's a lecturer at the political science department. Is that correct? At the University of Ghana. He's Dr. Abdul. Please correct me if I don't pronounce your name well. Jalilu Ateku. Correct.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
a Ghanaian after all.
That's right, yes.
I can pronounce Ghanaian names. Right. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to our set.
Thank you very much.
This is your first time on this
program.
Set, this particular program.
Yeah.
Great. But I hope you've been following us.
Yeah.
Right. Then, my brother across, Ishak. Yes. The famous and popular Ishak. Yeah, so Ishak is also a lawyer and a lecturer at the University of Professional Studies. He's at the law faculty and also a member of the New Patriotic Party. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing quite great. I'm glad to be back, and thank you to my senior colleague and my very good friend Jalil here. And then good morning to fellow Ghanaians.
Right. And then also joining us on Zoom is Dr. Nanaya Mreku Yabua. He is an international relations expert. Okay, I understand he's yet to join us. So we wait on him to join us. But as mentioned, Bank of Africa and the National Petroleum Authority are our proud sponsors for the program this morning. Just across the table, gentlemen, just 1 minute for each of you. Ishak, finally, the hope of bringing the movement for change back looks like it's lost. Just 1 minute.
Thank you very much. But yes, I know it's 1 minute, but just allow me 30 seconds to extend my condolences to one great patriot in Wale Wale constituency. We lost the last constituency election. There was a gentleman called Tijani Sanda, whose father had been our chairman. He also contested for the chairmanship. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. Just a week ago, he tragically lost his life. Oh. And then we are still in a state of mourning in the Wale Wale constituency. And the Sunday is a 7-day Adua. So we'd like to invite all patriots from both Northeast region, Upper East region, and Northern region who are close by.
You use 30 seconds of your minute to do an obituary.
That is also
yes.
Okay. On Wale Wale.
Not really.
Not really. He didn't deny it.
When the lawyer says not really, there's a bit of truth in it.
I want him to deny it.
My younger brother is currently occupying the state, and I'm happy for him to be there.
But you are not
for now. You're happy for him to be there for now.
Yes. I'm happy.
take the seat from your younger brother.
No, but I want you to say that he's not going to contest.
That will be for the family to decide.
You would never say yes.
Yes, but movement for change. I don't believe we've lost hope for them to return. I've spoken to individual members of Movement for Change. Most of them believe that what they are doing is futile. In fact, you remember I met Buaben Asamoa. Today he has been a very good marketer. He was marketing a product and he did so very well. But prior to the election, we were told that they were going to be the third force that would take over power. What happened?
They said you robbed them. You prevented their agents from
But even if they
monitoring.
rob you, look at the abysmal performance they have attained.
Yes,
I mean, what kind of robbery?
That's the point.
Then that was a massive
people
robbery.
voted and you didn't count their votes. You and EC.
In that case, blame the NDC because if they have robbed
NDC
them...
was not in power.
No. I mean the current, what they call it. I mean the general election, Movement for Change. In
in 2024. Who was in power in 2024? MPP.
But did we win? How can you rob somebody and you didn't win?
Yes.
I thought when you say somebody has robbed you, it means the person is having it.
No, but when you were robbing, you didn't know that somebody was taking advantage of what you were doing. They were not doing the... So that's a kind of...
So in that case, whether they were robbed or no, they were going to lose.
Well, maybe when you meet him in the corridor...
Unless, of course, the teams were the NDCs who have won. So look at the abysmal performance they have made. I don't believe they will make an impact. With all apology, because I've got my very good mentor among the senior members of a Movement for Change now called United Party, of which you can see some of our members said they are going to contest it in court, whether it is appropriate for them to appropriate that name for themselves. Considering the fact that the MPP is built on the tradition of a party of a similar name. This is our ancestral name they have decided to assume. So some people think it's right for us to even challenge them in court. I think strategically, let's not challenge them. I believe they are going to die a natural death. Maybe challenging them, our leadership probably need to look into that. Maybe challenging them in court may give them a lifeline because it will give them free publicity and it will be like they are fighting with the elephant. Why don't we strategically just allow them? Even if they have appropriated our name, but this is my personal opinion, taking them on in court in litigation, we might give them a lifeline.
Right.
Let's leave them. They're going to die a natural death. And talking to individual members, they are still having the feeling that they are going to come back home.
Okay.
So it's just a temporary fever.
Okay, so just...
Yes.
Right. Okay, so I understand we've been joined on Zoom by Kweku Krobi Asante. He's the program manager and an independent journalist for MFWA. Kweku, good morning.
Good morning, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning and welcome to Current Agenda. How is your morning going?
It's Saturday morning, always calm, easy. But yes, it's going well. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Okay, so I'll get back to you in the next 3 minutes once I've taken a minute from each of them. So please stand by. I would start with you on my discussion on the National Service Authority. So please be on standby for me.
That's right.
Doc,
that's right.
As a political strategist, how do you see this repositioning of the United Party from the Movement for Change to this? Can they become the third force?
Right, thank you very much. Good morning to the viewers. Well, what I can say is that Movement for Change, if you realize that in the 2024 election, right, Alan Chimanti contested as an independent candidate because it was a movement. It wasn't a registered political party, right? So now it's a registered political party, okay? So it means that they cannot contest elections as a political party. Okay, so I think that, and I also see it as a way of part of that branding or rebranding or maybe positioning themselves to be effective or to make an impact, let me put it that way, make an impact in our electoral landscape, right? But, okay, to the extent of even winning elections, okay, that for me is something that will be very, 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 very difficult for them. We have seen, one, Now we have, if you look at the NDC and an MPP from 1992, okay, to this period, you realize that, I mean, aggregately, I mean, they have about between 80 and 90, 80 and then 90-something% of the vote almost every election year. So to me, that these two parties, that's why we said that they have, I mean, virtually Ghanaians have established a duopoly. And one of the features when you have a duopoly is that it leads to the disintegration of the smaller parties or the other parties. And that's exactly what we are seeing. Okay, so you have these smaller parties, they will come, and the movement, now it is a united party. Okay, they can only they can only survive and make positive impact, like maybe getting closer to winning election, only if the MPP disintegrates, right? For example, 2028 election, if the NDC should win, 2032 election, if the NDC should win, 2036 election, the NDC should win, all right? Maybe 3 electoral rules, then it means certainly, and they are still active, offering alternatives and all that, then that is only when there will be a possibility of maybe some people from, because they are going, if they are going to draw people from, for now, they are going to draw people from, more from the MPP than any other political party, right? Other people from the political, the NDC and all to join them, okay? But I think that they will have most of their, I mean, their following from the MPP. And as to whether they'll be able to do that, because if you look at the last election, okay, so I think Alan Tremantin got 0.28% of the, less than 33,000 votes, okay? I mean, even the other independent candidate, Bediako, was third also, and that kind of thing. So you realize that, but the point is that such parties, especially when they are coming from one major party, sometimes if you want to look at only the numbers that they garnered in the election to make the, oh, they couldn't do well, it's not only about that, it's also about during the campaign, because these are people, if you talk about Boniface, Alan Chiramantin, YB, these are insiders, okay, who will be speaking against their own party. So it means that they'll be telling you that this party, the MPP, is not good, I mean, fit for purpose for moving into the next election. So vote for us. But people, some people know very well that Movement for Change will not win.
United Party.
They will look for other alternatives.
United Party.
That is, I mean, sorry, no, at the time, the Movement for Change at the time, 2024 election, they will not win. So if they are telling you that the MPP is not fit for purpose, moving into the next election, they have done A, B, and C. Some people who should have maybe voted for the MPP will be moving towards another party, and that will be the party that is capable of winning. That's the NDC. All right. So these are some of the things. So if you, and I was thinking that maybe from what happened after that, maybe MPP could have done something to see if they'll be able to bring them on board. But unfortunately, from the past 8-9 months, MPP is still facing serious challenges, tensions here and there, and all that. They've not even been able to resolve their own issues. Okay, right. So let alone moving away from the party to the distance. Okay. So I do not see them making any significant impact, like to winning elections in future. Okay, right.
Considering that the landscape or the generations keep changing, now we have a Generation Z, where across the globe, they are causing a certain revolution on social media, revolution digitally, and trying to challenge the status quo over the years. Would you still say that a third force in a duopoly is long-fetched?
You see, the two parties have a duty to evolve. You understand? I came from a generation, you and I came from a generation where our parents would talk about Rawlings, you know. We lived Rawlings, we saw Rawlings. To some extent, I have vivid recollections of the firing squads, you know. I remember my father describing what a firing squad was to me one morning when we opened the radio and heard what a firing squad, that there had been a firing squad of involving certain people, and I wanted to ask him what was a firing squad, and he physically demonstrated to me what a firing squad was. And the conversations around the dining table about who Rawlings was, what he was about. So if you look at the generation that was, say, post-1990, when we entered into the Fourth Republican, it was largely influenced by what you heard about the NDC and Rawlings. Either your parents were for Rawlings or against Rawlings. So either the militia and all that. And so those who voted normally between 1990 and 2000 largely were influenced by the experiences of their parents in the 80s. Then those who became parents post that also influenced their kids in the 2000s. You understand? Now you have a different generation. We have a generation now that probably didn't see Rawlings or must have heard about him. You understand? And so if you try and market your party based on PNDC issues and the fact that maybe market when we're beating and all that, you probably won't make any impact.
But
they can't relate. Yes. You understand? So one of the beautiful things that I give a lot of credit to people like our minister for his name is Opare.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Green Army. You see, the NDC and then they've been able to evolve. The NDC has been able to evolve itself to be attractive.
That's the employment minister.
Yes, they have become very attractive to the Ghanaian youth, including the university students and all that, you see. So as a party, if you cannot evolve, and I'm sure my friend here would agree that in terms of our youth attraction between the NDC and the MPP, then the NDC far and wide leads.
I mean, the recent polls done
exactly.
by Musa Dankwa.
Exactly. So you must, as a party, be able to evolve. And I think that there's still room in our political space for what I call spoilers. You understand? Yes, the NDC leads with what, 189 seats.
Yes.
Yes. It will take, the next election will tell us how Ghanaians feel, depending on the policies, and the Ghanaian voter can decide to maintain a dominant party in parliament and not even change in terms of maybe 1 or 2 seats. And that could be surprising. It may decide that, look, despite what we had in previous cycles, instead of 189 seats, I could go 195 or 200. You understand? Anything at all is possible because in this generation is unpredictable. So you must be careful the modeling you use when it comes to the kind of voting strategy you want to put out. That's why I think that people like Musa Dankwa Dems become very relevant because this new party can study the terrain and decide that we are not necessarily going in for the presidential because maybe it's an impossible task, clearly. But we can decide to strategically isolate 1 or 2 or 3 constituencies and cause you real damage. Political parties also build alliances. Our constitution actually makes room for alliances to be built. So if we believe that, let's say the NDC believes that, look, partnering with UP can strategically allow us to make inroads into, for example, Ashanti region, nothing precludes us from entering into such alliances. So this fixation that a political party is set up only to ultimately win presidential elections and parliamentary elections within one election cycle is completely misconceived. Yes. It can be that somebody decides that, look, I'm going to set up a political party, and perhaps even in my lifetime, I may not see it's winning an election, but it will become a counteracting or countervailing influence against what I perceive to be the influence of a particular person or group of persons who have taken over what I used to cherish and have turned it into something else that it no longer represents. And that is probably the major complaint of those in the UP, that the MPP as it is now does not represent the values and the aspirations of... And so they want to break away. Right. And having broken away, they want to present themselves as the alternative to the MPP. In that, other political parties can take advantage of that situation. You understand? So to underestimate their effect, I think will be to your detriment. Right. What probably we need to task Musa Dankwa is to find out how relevant this new movement is to the youth and to the Generation Z that you and I speak about.
Right. Thank you. Kojo.
Hi.
Okay. So let's go straight into the National Service Authority scandal. What really led to where or what we are hearing to be a fraud or a misappropriation of a certain amount of money running into hundreds of millions of cedis?
Well, thank you very much in my regards to the other panelists in the studios. I think this is a long trail of administrative issues. We have known the national service issues since I think somewhere around 2013, 2014. A similar scandal, happened in there that the government had to step in and, some prosecutions here and there. We don't know where that went. But essentially, the existential problem of people who are freely donating their time, or of course by law, committing themselves to serve the nation, are often left in difficult situations. Some of them are sent into places that are very far from their homes. Imagine somebody being born, bred, raised here in Accra, and then a national posting come, and the person is being sent to Sapeliga on the border town, of Ghana, somewhere in the upper east side towards Burkina Faso, or you have been sent to Fielmu on the other side, Hamile, and then you go there, you left your family, this is a new environment, you're supposed to go and work and teach, and then the stipends, you're not being paid. The stipend that you're supposed to string along or live by. For many times we had to make reports about national service personnel left stranded, some hungry, some even moving away from their posts because really they cannot survive. But
Okay, I think we are having a bit of network connectivity challenges. We'll try. It was a bit unstable, but I mean, I'll come back to you. So, Kojo was raising a very interesting point. It gets sad to hear that people did national service for a period of time. They were not being paid their allowances, which I'm sure if you put together would not add up to this amount of money. Yes. I mean, I did my service for a period. Yes. And then
I remember the times when either you have to go to the Greater Accra office and take it over the
counter,
over the table,
yeah,
or you go to the Ghana Commercial Bank, and then you go and queue hours, and then they will share it. That you go in groups because of the coins on top. Then you go in 5. Then they give you a check, so then you take it and then they share the coins,
And just to hear that there's 653 million that was being shared, it's sad.
You see, I think that, and as much as possible, I will refrain from being political about this. But I think that the first John Mahama administration left a roadmap in terms of how to deal internally with some of these things. And I thought that alone would have been a deterrent, because when the first major scandal broke out during the first John Mahama administration, national security went in there, you understand, and there were prosecutions, including the people were taken to court and they were made to pay money. They entered into prosecution agreements and were beginning to pay the monies back. So what happened after that? Because if you read the charge sheet, you understand, and you look at the impudence, you understand, in which, I mean, we are lawyers, so you cannot, and then the presumption is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
But the kind of work that the Fourth Estate did, in that particular journalistic work, and I must commend them, because without their effort, and the fact that the National Service Scheme itself had the audacity to go to court to try and restrain the news from coming out. Ishak, your people, some of your people, Anyway, we are supposed.
You say you are trying not to be
exactly.
political.
You know, I am. I don't know. But you see, the impunity. You understand? See, infractions are bound to happen. There's no government that is you can say is angelic, but the levels, you understand, is where we begin to have a problem, you see, because during the John Mahama administration, when the first John Mahama, when there was that hint, you remember the bus branding,
yes.
and then there was the national service.
Yes.
Internally, there was action taken. National security was taxed, and then investigations, and people were put before court. You see, so I asked myself, when this scandal broke in terms of what the Fourth Estate uncovered, what happened? You see, because government is a continuum. So even before a new administration comes into power, what did the then government do to stop the hemorrhage? Because this hemorrhage went all the way until a new government came into power before we had to stop the bleeding. Because if certain actions had been taken in terms of proper due diligence investigations, forensic investigation being taken at that point, we would not have lost money post the breaking of the scandal. You understand? Immediately. And you see, that was part of the problems that Ghanaians had with the outgone government. A problem arises. There's a scandal. What is the immediate reaction of the government to the scandal? We can't have a situation where journalists bring out stories. Same thing happened in the previous administration. During the John Mahama I government, a scandal came about national service. You know, before we talk about the institutional issues, my first point is government reaction when these things happen. What was the John Mahama I government's reaction to the national service scandal? And what was the Nana Addo government's reaction to the same issue there? That for me is the first point, that we should never have again in this country a situation where a story breaks out by a journalist, because part of the journalistic mandate from the Constitution is to keep the government in check. And so when we have that, state institutions should not be used as shields to prevent forensic audits and investigations from taking place. We must have the ability as a government, a sitting government, to say that, look, this is wrong. That once this thing has been uncovered, it is wrong. We should not have a situation where the person who is committing the wrong has the audacity to take the journalist who has uncovered the story to court and seek an injunction against them from exposing the wrongdoing.
Right.
And cover their tracks so that they can have more time within that space to commit more wrong. And the sitting government does nothing about it. For me, that is the first problem. The second problem has to do with the NSS itself as an institution. Why? Why do we have a situation where that institution alone, over two different governments, we have a situation where that institution becomes the conduit for such illicit activities? You understand? To the point where the state loses that amount. We need to revamp institutionally that and put in the correct governance structures. That is why I'm happy that currently they have decided to do away with the old platform and come up with something new. Because there was that debate about whether to maintain the old platform, which was the vehicle through which the same issues were happening. I'm happy that the new executive director has decided that no, we are going to move away and do something different. But we need to take a second look at the national service. Maybe we need to look at the act, the whole institutional framework. We had the same problem with YE when we had the scandal broke out. You understand? Again, the difference in terms of approach was that the then government took its officials to court and promulgated a new act. What is the attitude of the former government?
Okay. So, Kwegu, welcome back.
Thank you.
Sorry for the cut. So yes, so you were saying.
Yes. And I think my brother in the studio has actually even taken that from there and built the point. So essentially, we decided to go into the investigations based on the information that we have been able to gather, which is that the database of the National Service Authority that we saw contained thousands of ghost names that clearly did not exist, to names of people and ages that was way beyond the age category that people were supposed to do their national service, names that were even foreign, and some of them we are able to confidently say was foreign because we did our checks, and eventually we found the name of, a Kenyan IT expert whose name was in the Emmanuel Mutu. Eventually, he would reach out to us to tell the side of his story. And then sometimes, just because they wanted to populate the database, one person's name could be duplicated like 200 times in the, same name,
200.
same program, same course, and same university. And then they created fake index numbers for people in the name of universities that did not exist. We checked in with the universities and realized that no, that the universities say that's not how we even run a index number system. And this was KNUST was in there, UCC was in there, Winneba was in there, generated fake index numbers in the name of these universities, and it was in. So we reported this issue. In fact, we made efforts at the time of doing the story. We made efforts to speaking to the leadership at the time. They used every trick in the book, to prevent us from engaging them. We wrote to them for information, right to information act, requesting data. They did not mind us, told us now that the matter is something that they're looking into. They will need more time to build the data. We wrote to their partners, GIPS, Ghana Interpayment System, to say, GIPS, you are the body that verifies or confirms payments for the service personnel. Could you also help us? GIPS was willing to engage, but of course, GIPS is a third party who is working with the National Service Authority. So they sought consent from National Service. The National Service leadership said no. We saw messages being sent on the platforms of the workers of the National Service Authority, barring them from engaging us, talking to us in any way or form. They declined interviewing us, pushing the interview to a longer date. That clearly was not going to help. I think that their main aim was to say, we don't want this story to move until the elections are over, and then you can make all your noise. And we were bent on telling our story, at the best time we thought it was. So eventually we announced that we're going to publish the story. As my brother, narrates well, they went for an ex parte injunction to kill this, to prevent the story from airing. When the 10 days party injunction ended, they went for another one, of course, but this one, after that second one ended, then they had to go to court. We eventually went to court. The judge listened to the case and realized that this is a classic case of what we call strategic lawsuit against popular participation, SLAP. And so, fine them some 6,000 Ghana cedis for them to pay for not for delaying the course time and for engaging in all these things. So eventually in early February, we were able to publish our story. But between December and February, what we did was to petition the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and then we moved to the oral team with our evidence. Every evidence that we had gathered through the investigations, we laid it on the table of the oral team to say, this is what we have found, and it will be very useful for your investigations. Head count to see if indeed there could be any element of truth in the allegations, so to say, that we have brought. And just in one service year, the current 2024-2025, they could find as high as 98,000, data, ghost names in there. And we're saying, there you go. Now, foothold or the foundation laid for the Attorney General and his team to do investigations. And as you know, we are journalists, we can only work with a limited amount of information, but they have the state's prosecutorial powers to freeze accounts, to go into people's private accounts to track. And when they did, they saw a very murky can of worms that showed how, you know, how destroyed or how messy the whole system is, how individuals were amassing wealth to themselves. Now we've seen the charge sheet. The deputy director, Gift Owari, could use names, ghost names in there to as a warranty to go get loans, get monies, transfer monies into their private accounts, together with the husband, form companies, make the husband director here, and collect as much as 30 million plus, move the monies across different accounts, you know, what eventually becomes money laundering, and use details of people who are not even aware to form these companies so that they could hide, you know, their name from the public seeing immediately. But of course, the Attorney General is able to find that because they have the prosecutorial powers. And then you move to the main Director General of the NSA, Mr. Osei entry, and then he also done pretty much a lot of that, including employing himself as a volunteer of the National Service while serving as the Director General, and then receiving payment as a volunteer. Whilst, you know, volunteers are supposed to take somewhere around 715, 712 Ghana cedis. He was being paid 516,000 every month. And he did this for 16 months, way beyond the time that people are supposed to serve. In all, he was paying himself somewhere over 8 million Ghana cedis. The Attorney General finds his wage card that had the money, and that is just one side of the scheme. He used many other ways, the ghost names, to amass monies as well. They work with vendors. For those who may not understand, when service personnel are posted to far and near places, sometimes they go in there having no equipment at all. So the service authority has had these vendors who will supply these items to personnel on hire purchase, and then they could be paying from the allowance that they're supposed to be paid from. But what they have been doing is that they create the ghost names and then use these ghost names to also collect items, as like engage with the vendors as if they are collecting some items. And then monies will be sent to these vendors, and eventually they will arrange and have their own share or distribute their monies to themselves. A whole lot of schemes. So you have the vendors, you have the money laundering cases, you have the ghost names itself coming in, and things like that. And so this was the findings that eventually the Attorney General took. But this was somewhere around maybe April, May in there. And it took them a long time to now start the prosecutions. And so today we've seen the prosecutions. The Fourth Estate have been following. Yesterday we were in court to follow suit. Yesterday none of the two main culprits or suspects, you know, made it to court. If you're worried, we understand, presented a 2-day sick excuse. You know, of course, the judge was not amused by it and told them that she will not be entertaining these form of excuses. And in fact, if she had seen the excuse a little early, she would have given it to the team to do their own independent verification. We perhaps would want to have a lot of, you know, this kind of urgency from the court to see how we can go through quickly. But if I'm allowed to make any further point on this, we think that this is perhaps the first recover all loot campaign. This will be the 10th, given that they've made a lot of campaigns and noise about it, faulting the previous government, and rightly so. The previous government had a lot of corruption scandals that they could have dealt with, but they did not. But this will be a real test for the Mahama government to say how far they are willing to go and how well they want to fight these corruption scandals.
Okay, thank you very much, Kweku. I mean, you've given us a summary of a year-long or probably more investigation. You've actually put it in context for us properly. Yeah. And when you were speaking, my panel in here we, including myself, were just shaking our heads because of the magnitude of what seems to be a premeditated and well-orchestrated scheme that went, we won't say unnoticed, because it was eventually noticed by yourself and the team. So kudos to you. We know that the people involved will have their day in court to speak to the matter. We'll try as much as possible to not pre-adjudicate this case, because we know it's in court. Lawyers would say that it's a sub judice. And so we will try as much as possible to not go into the proceeding, but it doesn't stop us from discussing around or in the peripherals of the case. Lawyer Ishak.
Yes.
Now, these people being discussed are people appointed by your party when you were in power.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yes. And knowing the trajectory of politics in this country, obviously people employ or appoint members of their party into such positions. So it's fair to say that Osesibe Entry and then Gifty Owari are members of the NPP. Now, the information being given is that this story did not even come when NDC was in power. It's emerged when the NPP were in power. It was brought to the attention of those that matter, but there was deliberate attempt to kill the story up until the new the NDC government came, who took it up and have unveiled it. MPP.
Okay.
On the street, they ask MPP why.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to clarify. And to add up what you've just said with what my good friend Nee kept saying, Ishak, your people, your people. Let me make it very clear. I wouldn't say that the two people, simply because we are all members of MPP, it doesn't make them my people. I have not also been sent here by the MPP to speak on their behalf. For me, being sent to such a position is an opportunity to help the good people of Ghana. And if you fail to use that position to help the good people of Ghana, I do not associate with you in the first place, because that is not the values of the MPP. We're a collection of individuals from different backgrounds, different values. But the ultimate value is service to the people if you're a member of the MPP. And if you had the opportunity to serve the people, you fail. I do not associate myself with you. And I don't think the MPP associate themselves with them. So I'm not here to speak to them. What I will say is that if you have the opportunity to serve the good people of Ghana, and you use the Ghanaian wallet as your personal wallet, whatever befalls on you, you deserve it. So let's see, for example, that what this gentleman is recounting is true. I wouldn't have problem with them serving appropriate prison sentences, if indeed it is true. So I don't have problem with that. But since he mentioned my people, let me make it clear that MPP frown upon corruption. It was for this reason that we established the Office of the Special Prosecutor to prosecute people who are politically connected. That we might think because of our association with them, the government, the Attorney General may not have the appetite to pursue them. The Office of the Special Prosecutor could have taken such matters. So I am not really sure where it's coming from that we generally lack appetite when it comes to that. I am sure the prosecutor was probably looking into it. The government is a continuity. So for me, the government of Ghana is still dealing with it. But for this pointing hands to government and other government, we can always point hands. This was for this reason why I frown upon when the current finance minister Njekpa was being prosecuted. The Attorney General had the opportunity to appeal to the Supreme Court. Why didn't, if they really have the appetite to pursue all aspects of corruption? This was the reason why I had wanted them to allow the case to travel its natural journey to an end, so that these allegations and counter-allegations that you are not really interested, you are pursuing other members, wouldn't even come in. What I would say is that as far as the laws of Ghana is concerned, everybody is presumed to be innocent. That's why the graphic details that we have just heard. They are now in court. Let them have the opportunity to defend themselves. This is why the plea bargaining the Attorney General have entered into with the third accused. I'm very uncomfortable about it. Because
No,
if
I
this
think the plea bargain is for the
the third accused.
Is it not the Dubois case rather? That's the Dubois case.
That's the Dubois case.
Yes.
Okay.
This is not that one.
Oh, I thought this particular. Okay, maybe I missed something.
That's the Dubois case.
Okay. So, okay, let's put the Dubois case aside. But if we can lump all of them together, there are also forms of corruption.
Is allowed.
I understand it's allowed, but the details, they have a catalog. Okay, let me just leave the Dubois side aside. Because also there is a damning evidence that he can easily get convicted. So why do a plea bargaining to exclude somebody? But let's leave it aside. But the point I'm just making is that let's give them the opportunity to defend themselves. If at the end of the day, what this gentleman said to be true, I don't have problem with them serving a prison sentence because the government of Ghana wallet is not their wallet. And they can use public funds anyhow they like. Yes. But if in the end they are equally innocent, I don't have problem of them being acquitted, regardless of whether they are MPP members or they are not MPP members.
The only point I sought to make
okay.
is the fact that I just wish
yes.
that the same manner that whilst we were in power,
yes,
the national service persons
yes.
were arrested, they were investigated by national security and were put before court
yes.
during the administration of the Judge John Mahama government. YEA,
yes.
when the scandal broke out, they were Abu Gapele girls were put before court by President John Mahama's government. I want us to get to the point where in the future, I mean the MPP government is past, but in the future MPP government, God forbid, but in the future MPP government, they learn the culture of being able to look their own in the face, you understand, and deal with internal allegations of corruption by showing the fact that they are able to prosecute their own. Because if something had been done in respect of this national service issue, when the scandal broke out, you understand, the board of directors suspended, national security sent in there proper investigations, people put before. You see, when people realize that the shield of political office, the fact that you are a member of a political party or the color of political
does not
shield you from prosecution, as happened when President John Mahama had the authority to take on Mr. Abu Gapele whilst he was in office. You understand? That is the beginning of that deterrence. You understand? Because it is, as I always say, it is easy when you do regime accountability after the regime is out of power.
Yeah,
it is more difficult to prosecute when you are in power. Yeah. You understand?
So
because that is where you should.
Yes, I did not actually learn properly.
So please learn properly.
It is actually unfair to say that MPP have generally shown lack of interest in prosecuting their members.
When they are in
power,
fact, that's the point.
Yes. In fact, when we were in power during Kufuor time, we had one of our Minister of Youth and Sports.
The last 8 years,
no, you said MPP.
But to be fair, Malam Issa himself was not an MPP.
There was President Ronaldo to President Mahama. I'm giving you life examples.
There had been investigations.
The Bas Brandon scandal.
Yes.
It was civil society that caused the Attorney General. That was the first time an Attorney General was instructed by a president to undertake an investigation and to release the report. It had never happened. The Attorney General did the investigation and released the report based on civil society pressure. You understand? And then the consequential issues came about, the refund and all that. I am giving you two specific examples. YEA.
But you cannot...
YEA
yes.
And national service. I'm telling you that. Please, the past is gone. So I'm not trying to rest. What I'm saying is that as a party, when you have the opportunity to come into power, your executive president must demonstrate an appetite to deal with corruption internally. Because you see, when that happens, you gain the moral gravitas. You understand? When John Mahama tells his appointees that I am not a beneficiary of Galamsey, and so if any of you is found
to be involved in galamsey or to have any what do you call it, any association with galamsey or to deal with anything, I will deal with you. He has reference. So when you take his word for just mere words, you are only inviting trouble for yourself. YEA is an example. National Service is an example. So when President Mahama tells you that I'm dealing with corruption internally, he has the track record. I am just praying that when you ever have the opportunity to come back into executive authority, deal with corruption because you see, when you do that, your appointees begin to realize that your political affiliation can never act as a shield. I can't believe that, with every respect to the National Service Authority, they had the audacity to go to court and seek an injunction. I mean, can you imagine? You understand? And then we had the executive president sitting down and not doing anything about it.
Land in 1 minute.
Yes.
Land in 1 minute.
I'm just surprised that he thinks. Look, if you're talking about moral grounds, why would you say to people who allege that discontinuing this particular case by the former Attorney General against Richard Japa and the current Finance Minister was unwise? If you really have an appetite of fighting corruption, you would have allowed the case to resolve itself by traveling to its final destination. What happened? You stopped it. And you even rewarded them by making one finance minister and one in charge of the national security. People will, let me lie. You've had opportunity.
A similar case
People
also
will frown
even
upon
with the
this.
governor.
So, are you saying that you are not aware that the Honorable Atufosi was acquitted by the Court of Appeal? You're a lawyer.
Yes, but the Attorney General had made an appeal.
Hold on.
So the Attorney General, but that wasn't the end of the case.
Atufosi was acquitted and discharged by the Court of Appeal.
And the Attorney General made an appeal to the Supreme Court.
So when the person, hold on. When a court has acquitted and discharged someone, you understand? That person remains guilty until an appeal process by the prosecutor is.
That's not the point I'm making. The Supreme Court was going to have an opportunity to have a say.
So
why couldn't you allow it, if you have the appetite to fight corruption,
an Attorney General has
allow it to travel to its natural conclusion? Why? Were you scared the Supreme Court might contradict the Court of Appeal?
When you make
so if you are talking about appetite to fight corruption,
arguments, yes, I am not the one who is going to be the descending. The public there is listening to you.
The public can listen.
The public is listening to you. Make the argument.
Is that you are talking about
the public is
you having a clear appetite.
Listening to you. That when you are in government, and the government has an opportunity, an allegation is made by the media. You understand? Just as happened.
Let me lie. This is my opportunity.
You made your point. You made your point. Yes, let me just.
You can even see that National Service. If you look at our manifesto, we've actually attempted to resolve some of these things. Our manifesto was going to make National Service on voluntary basis, which will no longer even be compulsory. It was an attempt to even face this National Service out of the way. I believe it has become very anachronistic in this DNA to force somebody to do a national service over this small amount. And if you look at the cost benefits of analysis, you could see that your time you had problem with it, we're having problem with it. Maybe it has become anachronistic that we just need to face it out. And our manifesto have attempted to deal with that. Yes.
Invariably.
Yes.
One party will come to power, the other party will be in opposition. What I want us to be united about, you understand, is the fact that when you have the opportunity to be in government and certain cases come up, you understand? I know, and send an example, you understand? For example, and I give you an example, I'm saying that President Mahama set the tone when he was in government with the bus branding, the YEA, and the national service issues. Well, when they came up, he closed his eyes and dealt with people who were in it. You understand?
I don't necessarily disagree with you.
I'm telling you that when you get the opportunity, let us close our eyes and deal, because when you allow somebody, when you allow an organization, you have the office of the chief of staff and all that, they get internal reports. So when they hear that this story had broken out, and then the organization has the audacity,
so at least I've allowed you 3 minutes,
and say that you have taken an injunction against the media organization. How is that possible?
Today I've done something I normally don't do.
I know.
To do politics.
Oh, I know. We didn't do politics.
So I've come back. Doc, being a political strategist.
A political scientist.
Sorry, a political scientist. with all these things unveiling, would you say that it would have a tainting effect on the New Patriotic Party's possibility of coming back in 2028? Because if scandals upon scandals keep unveiling, like the way it's going, I mean, Orion indicated that they have about 2,000 plus cases. This is 1 out of 2,000. So if they are all going to come and they are in this magnitude, 653 million in those regions, does this spell doom for the New Patriotic Party going forward?
Okay, thank you. I think you have given the two gentlemen.
Yes.
So they all started very well.
And then they went into partisan politics.
They decided to make some equalization and then, all right, yes. So what I would say is that I think that in daily, I mean, we have to be very nationalistic on this matter, all right? And when we do so, okay, like the way Ishak started, right? Holding people accountable for their sins, okay, rather than just trying to say maybe it is an MPP thing or an NDC thing, okay, that will rather help the MPP, right? Because you, in the first place, you were in government for 8 years, right? This happened under your administration, okay? So maybe you could have done something to deal with them. But sometimes, I mean, parties think that maybe we have to do some cover up because we have election and that kind of thing. But I'm sure that if they were able to, if they had stood firm to deal with it, okay, I think that would have been better. Now, coming to your question, whether that is going to spell doom for the MPP, I think that, that is where I will expect that the MPP should rather support the government to hold people accountable and punish them for their sins. It's a way of cleansing your own party. Some of the things that you couldn't do, maybe because of A, B, and C. Because, look, when parties are in government, it becomes very difficult sometimes to deal with some of these issues. And that's why he rightly said that sometimes some of the issues would have to maybe they are about some key figures, right? So it becomes very, difficult. But if you're able to do that, so even if you're not able to do that, and then there is a change, and that's what Ghanaians are looking for, voted for the NDC because they believe that the MPP could not do anything, right? So if they should allow the MPP to continue, that means that they will some of these things, some of these things will continue to be happening in other places, right? So let's stop it. The way we can stop it is to vote for another party. So that is why they have convincingly voted for the NDC. What Ghanaians are expecting from the NDC now is to hold people accountable, right? And now there is also a challenge for the NDC if they are not able to do that, right? Because look, we have experienced this in the past. We have had some of these issues, some of them going to court and that kind of thing. And the whole electoral cycle, 4 years, will come and then nothing, it will be at the court. Every day, today is the court or so. I believe that NDC must adopt a different strategy, right? Where some of these corruption-related cases, they can dispose these cases within 6 months if they are actually to do so. I have served as a jury somewhere, right, in the UK before. And in some of the high-profile cases, we dealt with them within 2 weeks. Right? Within 2 weeks. So you have all the lawyers from wherever, they make their argument, look at the evidence and everything. Whatever they want to change, they will do. Consistently every day. And then the jury will go and then take their decisions and that kind of thing. And within 2 weeks, we're able to settle it. So why can't we do the same thing where within...
Just by way of information, I know the Attorney General is trying his best, He's laying, he's put before cabinet the Tribunal Act. That's one of the ways he's seeking to address it. These issues are not easy. Remember that most previous governments had 2 deputy attorney generals. This is the only attorney general is dealing with 1. So the workload is not easy. So I just want to know that efforts are being made, to deal with these matters speedily. You also have to know that people have rights. You understand? There are interlocutory applications, as lawyers we know.
Yes.
That even in the Edubahin case, they filed a stay.
The main cases are
yes. The main case is ongoing.
Oh, that's what's ongoing.
They're taking witnesses, but there are also interlocutory applications that are filed by
to produce the documents.
Yeah, to produce documents and other things. So those are things that are there.
So Doc, back to you.
So I think because of we already know our history about, even though they said that the wheel of justice grinds slowly, but I think that, I mean, it can we can do things in order to facilitate to get, if the people are innocent within this, they should be set free. Yep. But if they are culpable, they should be punished, because I mean, over 650 million Ghana cedis for just maybe about 2 or 3 people, if indeed that is it, and that is huge. We do not know, I mean, what has happened in some other areas. If you look at the oral something, so if it is only so far. Only a few cases, it's about 2 or 3 that have gone to the court, right? So it means that something must be done. Either some specific court can be set aside, right? MPA, right?
This Amir Kufi too has gone.
Yes,
the Sky Train.
Yeah.
That's just about 2 million.
Exactly, that's 2 million.
That's 2 million.
653.
653.
We are getting
right?
there.
You know,
we are getting
so
there.
I think that if some courts can be set aside to deal with it, during Kufuor's time, we had something like fast track, court, but what came out from it and that kind of thing, we didn't actually. So I think that
actually did well. Ibrahim Mahama was prosecuted. Kwame Pepre was prosecuted. What is it? Victor Salome was prosecuted.
Yeah.
And our own, Malam Yusuf, even though you people insist it's not our own. It was a minister under Kufuor government.
I mean, Indu was a minister under the government, but it was not your own. So, really.
All right,
anyway,
Ghanaians want to see action, right? It's not just, in fact, if it is going to be the next listen about, because the wheels of justice grind slowly, the next 3-4 years,
if
they think that NDC will suffer for it, for that one, okay? So I think that, I mean, NDC, I mean, they know what Ghanaians have done for them.
And to prosecute their own as well. The case is not just your opponent, your own. That's what the heavy
The point is that we know that. That's what we say. That sometimes it becomes difficult when a party is in government. Okay? Yes. So that's why we expect that when you can, I mean, you did some prosecutions.
Yes.
So let them also do prosecutions.
Yes.
So that if they don't punish their own, when you come, you also do the same, right? Yes. So I think it's a way of this. So I believe that I do not see that this will lead to the disintegration of the MPP as a whole, right? But I think that they will rather do themselves good if they support some of these programs, because after all, if people took 700 million, that's what you said, right?
Yes.
It is individual pocket, right?
Yes.
It's not the MPP's pocket.
No.
But sometimes,
did you see the money coming to the allegation? Did you see that it was sent to Isha or MPP wallet?
When people are being investigated, you will find party supported. They
going to mass up.
No, we are talking about the Rumbo style. We are upholding Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution.
Okay,
that's our job.
So, gentlemen, I have a few messages from our viewers and our listeners on radio. So I'll read them. I'll read, I think, about just 3-4 of them. Then I'll go back to Kuiku online. So this is from King Confident. He says, I was in tears after hearing this about how this NSA went on. I never expected this from Nana Addo. If Dr. Bawumia would have won, we wouldn't have known anything about all this corruption. Shame to Mr. Ex-President Nana Addo. So this is from King Confident. This is also from Cracks. He says that for the first time, this MPP man is speaking some truth. So Ishak, they say for the first time you are speaking truth. Maybe the person has not been listening to you, I understand.
Yeah.
So this is also from Floyd. Floyd says that upon hearing the journalists investigate the NSA, people in high authority are wicked. Well, I'll say some people in high authority are wicked. How can you scam a whole country like this? You could have given this money to help the government to construct our poor roads. Then I have another comment here. He says that, good morning, Mr. Host. Mr. Host, please let me tell you something now. Ghanaians are crying now because of voting against NPP. Well, so
Very true.
Well, so we shall bounce back with Honorable Brian Champo. I'm not sure this one you say very true. This one you say very true.
He's a bit confused. Tell him to talk to me.
The flag as the flag bearer for the New Patriotic. This is Kojo Sumaila from Kintampo. Kojo, there are a few others, but I'll read them later. So Kweku, back to you. Now, as the media foundation for West Africa, and what it is that you are doing and how you have helped unveil this. Should we be expecting, because this one obviously is some form of a payroll audit that has been done that we've uncovered this fraud. And there are other payroll systems in government sector. There is the controller, and or should we be uncovering, is there some other things that are brewing that we should expect?
Well, thank you. For now, we are keeping on to our work. Anybody who is following our work would say that, look, currently we are on another case like that about the National Lottery Authority and how we think a deal that they have with another company, is not the best, and it's not consistent with the law, and of course it involves a lot of money as well, that it can be improved. We are going to stick to independent journalism allegations. We are not able to sometimes put information out immediately when we are not done with the work we're doing. And so yes, we have a number of these stories in there that we are working on one at a time. Eventually, when it's ready, the public will know, and hopefully we get the impact as we are feeling with this national service scandal. I have listened to my colleagues in the studio talk, and I think it's an interesting conversation, but there's more to it. I think that we need to have some very good structures in dealing with this problem. National service scandal, this is not the first time that, there has been an incident like that. This is the second time. And it begs the question, what have we been doing all this while? It's also mind-boggling to think that all these years, as a state institution, auditors have been going there to audit their books, and you ask yourself, what were they finding? What were they finding? If we had not done this work, nobody would have known of any national service scandal or what has been going on. And as it is reported now, about 650 million Ghana cedis, and this is just between two people, just two people. It's BNP and Gift Wari. There are other people who have gone in to do plea bargaining, in a way that they have retained their monies so that they could help them do the investigation, that the Attorney General has not even mentioned, talked about its monetary value. If we had not done this, it would have gone through, but every year we are to believe that auditors go there to audit their books. And the question is, what have they been auditing all this while? That journalists without the powers could sit outside, gain a little information in there and do their own investigation and reveal this. So it begs a lot of questions. And I think that if we pay attention, we could see that this is not exclusive to the National Service Authority. It's a major problem that cuts across many of the state institutions. Every time we get into these investigations, we are confronted with the big question, where are the auditors? How come nobody or none of these audit reports have been able to pull this matter out like this, but no action? But sometimes the ones we see out here in the work we do are not captured in the books of the national in the annual audit reports. And you say, what's happening? And so, as much as I may not want to wade into, the other arguments, really, the point I leave with all of us on this conversation is there would be more in many of the state institutions where we claim to have been auditing every year. And if we look deeper and further, we can find a lot of these issues and save the national kitty.
Okay, so Kweku, still on you. I'm moving away from this NSA because, like I said, we'll try as much as possible not to go into the merits of the case. But since you are the media person, I'll still stay on you. Within the week, we heard that Daniel Owusu Kranteng, the gentleman that was suspected to have been the one to have murdered Ahmed Swale was, I think, let go. As a media person, as somebody fighting for the freedom of the, aside the democracy of the media space, hearing this and knowing that we might never get justice or might never figure out who it is that did this to a colleague of yours, how do you feel?
Well, thank you very much. I'll be speaking to this as a journalist myself, and how this makes me feel. And two, also as the Media Foundation for West Africa, who have been championing press freedom and freedom of expression across the West Africa sub-region, in nearly 30 years now. Look, the Ahmed Swale issue is a big scar on our national sensibilities when it comes to the conversation on press freedom and safety of journalists. Hither to this case, Ghana has, had been known to be this country where small issues of press freedom, but the challenges were not as dire as killing a journalist in this grand style, open air, gangsters, assailants with gun walk to a journalist, shoot him 3 times, as we hear, on the neck, in the chest, and he dies. And it is not like it's something that was out of the blue or something that surprised all of us. A certain member of parliament then had openly called for attacks on this journalist, showed his face, a journalist who has for many years been lurking in the shadows or in the quiet, doing his work in a way that his face do not show, and these things happen. And I do not in any way try to construct any causality. These are facts of the matter that needs to be put out. It's a big scar on our national sensibilities. And then more troubling or more worrying, is the trajectory. If you look at it date by date, and if I have the opportunity, I'm going to break it down for you to see. Anas in June 2018, screens number 12, an investigative documentary about corruption, massive corruption in the football administration in Ghana and in Africa. Just before that, and these are facts of the matter, Kennedy Japan, a member of parliament, a leading member of the ruling party at the time, had threatened to expose the deeds of Anas at the time and his Tiger Eye people. Eventually decided to publish photos that he believed was the photo of Anas and photos of Ahmed Swale. And this is a classic hate campaign because at some point he called for attacks on them, particularly Ahmed Swale, pointed to a place where he believed was where he comes from or where he stays, and even made reference to Tamale, where he comes from, that where people see him, they should attack him, right? Then eventually, in January 16, Ahmed Swale is waylaid in traffic at Medina, close to where Kennedy Japan pointed that he stays, and 2 unidentified gunmen, moves to his car, shoot him 3 times, twice in the chest and 1 on the neck. And then from there, the police invites him and some other people for interrogation, and then the charade continues from there, right? They arrest some suspects and then let them go. We don't have evidence. They arrest some suspects and let them go. Somewhere in July 2019, the Attorney General actually announces to our shock that he's yet to receive a docket on the Ahmed Swale case from the police. In September 2019, Akufo-Addo at the Ghana Bar Association conference actually attempts to now dissociate the assassination of Ahmed Swale from his work as a journalist, which many of us protested against it and said we disagree with the president. This man, prior to this, nobody even knew that Ahmed Swale even existed. The person we have known as Anas, but eventually, as it turned out, Swale was actually the one who was leading the number 12 investigations. Somewhere in 2021, Kennedy Japan now says there's a certain Ansu Diabo who is the killer of Swale, you know, and then Diabo also comes in and refuses the allegations. Attorney General in July 2021, therefore now goes to Parliament and says the same thing, that no one has been charged or no one has been prosecuted, but that they have sent Swale's phone to US for them to decode and return to the Cybersecurity Department of the Ghana Police Service. Eventually, the Attorney General himself also comes to make the point, and sorry if I'm stretching this, but I think it is important that we present the timeline for people to see the charade that they have been. Godfrey Yabo, that's the Attorney General at the time in 2022 in December, also makes a claim that his murder, Swale's murder, is not connected to his work as journalist, reiterating the president's point somewhere in 2019, about 3 years ago. But somehow, after we mount pressure on the government, Akufo-Addo comes back in December 2022 to make a vow that he will continue to make sure that and that perhaps was the end of Akufo-Addo's pronouncement, or the NPP government so-called fight lip service, you know, about looking for justice for Ahmed Swale, and then ensuring that this press freedom blot is dealt with. Eventually, in 2023, Mahama, you know, is elected as the flag bearer of the NDC, and in his speech, he makes a pledge that when he comes into power, he's going to make sure that, you know, he looks for the killers of Swale and deals with that. You know, in 2024, Attorney General comes back, and this is still in the NPP's time. Attorney General comes back to say there's no, and I'm quoting him, no docket or document fit for prosecution has been built and presented to my office since the murder. Again, shocking all of us to say, so for all these years, what has the police service been doing? You know, what are the issues that have come out of this, and why are we now hearing this 2024? This is like 5 years, into Swale's murder. Mahama now assumes office in 2025, and March informs the public, that he's giving orders to the investigative bodies to expedite the ongoing investigations into the killing of Ahmed Swale. And then we heard of the arrest of Owusu Cranton, and here we are today that he's been let go. And of course, I wouldn't say that if he is indeed innocent, he has to still be held on, because we want to get to the bottom of this case. As a matter of fact, anybody who is innocent must be let go. We must not try or prosecute somebody who we don't have any evidence to support. But the point is that the charade that the government has been going on and on about this matter is really frustrating, is really worrying, and for a journalist like myself doing similar work that Ahmed Swale, has done, it really makes me very, very uncomfortable. Swale covered his face, or nobody knew Swale, but people know me. People know me. I am here on your show talking to you. People know me. I appear on shows because when we started practicing, we did not cover our face. And so it's extremely worrying, and perhaps I need to reiterate the point that the Media Foundation has been making, that we need a detailed report, published. Of course, we know this is a criminal matter, but
so, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So I think I appreciate the chronological order in which you presented the case. And I think for anybody who has not been following this, you've walked us, within the last 5-10 minutes, you've walked us through a 5-year evolution of this case, which we really appreciate. Like I said, it's a developing story. We are here to find out what the Attorney General's next move is. And so we would want to come in studio get other panel members also's view on this. But definitely we would come back to you if it means I would have to bring you in studio to have a discussion on this properly, because media freedom is something that is dear to all of us. Like you're saying, if for even the person whose face was not out, there is what can happen to, what about those of us whose faces are here? At what point would we know that what we are saying is not appealing to somebody, and for that reason they will come after us? So it's important that we discuss this and discuss it thoroughly. So I'll pause you here and then come in studio to listen to the other members. If there's some bit of time, I might come back to you. If not, I would still appreciate you and thank you for your time spent with us this morning. Anyway, Sony, I have a bit of about 20 minutes to finish this. I'll just do it 5 minutes each for you so we can finish this. But I'm a media person.
Right.
I'm sitting here. In fact, all of you sitting here, your faces are... everyone is in people's homes. Yeah. You might say something today that somebody sitting somewhere. Some of the messages we see here that we don't read, we censor them. Because if you read them the way they say it, it's as if people are coming at you.
Yes.
You might say things that a particular... It might not even be political. It might be tribal.
Tribal issue.
And some people would come at you. We are not even safe in that aspect. And then we are believing that when something like this happens to us, the bodies that will be able to investigate to figure out what happened to us. This has been 5 years. Listening to how he has relayed the chronology of events.
Yes.
It looks like we are getting somewhere, we are getting nowhere, only to be told that there's not even a docket. No. Like no seriousness had been attached to this case.
I know that the Attorney General's office is seriously looking into the matter.
You mean this Attorney General's office?
The Attorney General's office is looking into the matter. Part of prosecution is directing the police as to what to do. Sometimes you need further investigations, and so part of it will be to call for a docket and give directions on scene. Mr. President is a journalist himself. He's a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association. And so the Ghana Journalists Association have first access to him. And this Ahmed Swale issue has been an issue that has been on the burning table for a long time. Mr. President has spoken about it, and he is very interested in ensuring that justice is done. But as we all know, it's better that 9 guilty people walk free than 1 innocent person goes to jail. Yeah. So at the heart of prosecution is a properly made out docket. No prosecutor can go to court when the docket is half-baked. You understand? Because you waste the state's resources. Whenever a prosecutor takes a matter to court, it is state time and state resources that are being used. And so you need to have a proper docket to go to court. And so when the CID is able to produce a docket that the Attorney General believes can be sent to court and a proper prosecution mounted, nobody would hesitate. I think the pressure should be mounted on the Director of CID to give the Attorney General a proper docket that can be prosecuted. You understand? And you also cannot produce suspects who are non-existent. You understand? The police have to do thorough investigations. If the information is not there, or if the tip-off is not arriving, maybe then you need to increase the incentives for a tip-off. You understand? But we cannot force or manufacture evidence. That is not allowed. And so I think the first point is the CID. I think the Ghana Journalists Association needs to mount pressure on the CID to produce a docket that the Attorney General can work with and that the Attorney General can take to court and prosecute. Where you have not produced that kind of docket, it is not possible for the state to mount any prosecution and be successful. And of course, you do not also want to simply hound people based on suspicion. Multitudes of suspicion does not amount to what? Evidence. You can all have suspicions, but that is not evidence. Evidence is either documentary, you can have other forms that appeal to, normally we say, the senses, things that you can testify to. And so let's allow the police to do their. Ghana, as one of the finest police services you can never find anywhere.
I believe so too.
If they are properly incentivized, they will produce results. And so let's go back into the archives. The police should put out a team to look into this matter. The matter should not be allowed to go cold, as they say, because every life lost without a lawful basis is something that the state should not tolerate. Ahmed Swale's case must be looked at properly, because there are different dimensions to it. You hear in one instance, it was his work with a nurse that caused his death. In another way, you say it is work that they had done previously, and that people had grudges against him and came after him in all that. At least we know that.
He said it was domestic issue.
Exactly. You know, there are people. At least we know that somebody waited for him on the motorbike for hours. At least that's what the witnesses, as they said. And when he appeared, he was shot. We need to start from somewhere. So I'll urge the director CID to, as part of the briefings, hold the briefing. Maybe you, the journalist, have not held them to the feet or to their fire to the fire, their feet to fire, because it's one of your own. And so I would expect that probably every other week you mount some pressure at the CID headquarters and demand some answers. What is the state of the investigations? Who are the suspects? What has happened? And where are we going? Because without a properly built docket, the Attorney General cannot produce magic.
I agree.
Doc. Yeah, thank you. I think that, we are back to the same thing, talking about the failure of the auditors, the NSA. A similar thing with the investigators here too, right? So it means that properly listening to the gentleman, we can say that so far we do not have anything. Because if the Attorney General at the time said that he didn't have any proper thing to proceed, then it means that we have to start from somewhere, right? So I think that, this, instead of maybe mounting pressure on the investigators, I think that they should rather mount pressure on the government, and especially the Attorney General, right? Because this has to do with investigations and prosecutions, okay?
Which will still investigate.
No, but in terms of prosecution, everything is...
No, Attorney General prosecutes, but Attorney General does not investigate.
No, what
that's
I'm
the difference. The investigations are carried out by the Ghana Police Service. Prosecutions are carried out by the Attorney General. The Ghana Police Service is under the Ministry of Interior.
Yeah.
So if the police have not built a docket, the Attorney General cannot go to court.
But earlier you mentioned that the Attorney General, the prosecutor, has a way of directing.
So when you have brought a docket and the docket is incomplete, maybe you need to take further statements. But when you haven't brought a working docket, there's nothing that the Attorney General can do.
Ask maybe what is happening to this particular.
You can ask. Exactly.
Right. So I think that something must be done, because when the president assumed office, he wrote to the IGP, isn't it? That he want to see some investigations on some of this, including even the Techiman South deaths, right? So, but that was to the former, the then IGP, Dr. Dampare. So far, we don't know what has happened to that. I think that we need some updates on it. So the point I'm making is that it means that something must, once there was nothing by the time the previous administration left, I think that with the new administration, they must go into the matter.
Just a follow to this. Ahmed Swale seems to be one of many. We had the JP Dankwa, who was also murdered in his home. I'm not sure that case. The former MP. Yes. I'm not sure that case. We found whoever it is. There's still a suspect that today says this, tomorrow says this.
But he's in court.
Is it the Gogomi guy?
He's been prosecuted. Yes, the case is ongoing. That's the difference. That one, the case is ongoing.
Yes, but even for this case, the case was ongoing till recently. We had the suspect until recently that we said that.
But the case has not started. There's a difference.
Okay, fine, fair. That's fair. Then I think there was another, an MP who was shot on the Accra Cape Coast Road during the
is it before?
It was no, not this election. I think it was during the 2020 election.
The wife took over.
Yes, and the wife took over.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what has happened to that case. Should there be a special commission set aside to an independent commission to look into what seems to be cold cases?
No, they have a cold case unit.
Another police service.
One IGP, one IGP.
They are very cold. They have become too cold.
Maybe it's frozen. It's frozen.
The unit itself has a cold too. So they have
because we seem to be having one too many of these now. So now we have this added.
Yeah.
And it keeps.
Yeah. So I think that for me, if pressure is mounted on the government, I think that is where we'll get results, because the government will normally know the impact of such pressure.
Recently,
right?
I think the Jirapa hotel case, the gentleman,
case,
the case has been concluded. I understand that they said that it was the HR manager. Yes. This is a case that has seen. So I agree with me. Yes, if evidence, you can't falsify evidence. You can't force what is not there. Yes, but I mean, it keeps happening. It doesn't give confidence.
Yeah.
So, but in this particular, there's a point. Just to repeat how it works. The Office of the Attorney General does not do investigations.
I agree.
It is the police that would complete investigations, take statements from the suspects, put a docket together, and send it under the cover of the director of CID to the Attorney General's office for advice. If they haven't gone through the process of investigations and built a docket, the Attorney General cannot do anything. Our system is different from, let's say, the Americans, where under some jurisdictions, the Attorney General's office has investigators who do investigations and who are supervised by the Attorney General. Our system is built on the British
system.
British system. We have adopted the British system where clearly.
I think there's the Inquisitorial, right?
Which one?
So ours is a different. Yes.
I will be doing the investigations.
Ours is a bit different. And so because of that,
ours is adversarial.
So the police must do the investigation. So let's mount the pressure where it should be.
Right.
The Ghana Police, the director of CID, must produce a docket.
Would mass up and go to doc. So land on it. So I go to.
So what I'm saying that yes, I agree, right? Because even though the police are supposed to do that, but the president wrote to the IGP.
He appoints the IGP.
Right. Yes, he appointed the IGP. So that's why he wrote to him that I want to see something done to these cases.
So maybe our pressure will not be on the Attorney General, it will be on the president.
Because they know the impact of the pressure, right? And they will act. Yes. Okay, for putting pressure on the IGP, they'll tell you they are doing.
The VIP is I think has something with it.
If you look at from the gentleman, look at even the president himself saying that maybe he was not killed because of A, B, and C. The attorney and all those suggestions. But the most important thing is that someone was murdered. And there should be, whether he was a journalist or not. And I'm sure they were running away from or trying to give some kind of defenses because of the effect in terms of rating as to how a government be some closure. Because if after 5 years, 6 years, we do not even have a docket about what has happened, then it becomes this. So I think that the government must step in. Once the president ruled, I think that the president should follow, to give update as to where the police are in terms of some of these deaths that happen in the past.
Is it a case that we as a people do not value life?
Yes. Thank you very much. I think I would like to agree with Ni in this particular area.
For the first time.
And vehemently. Oh, we've always discussed.
No, first time today.
Today, okay, maybe. No, even the National Service side, we actually have agreement. Yeah, we have fundamental agreement. But once he introduced politics into it, I needed to rebut it.
Right.
Yeah, so the journalists, I have listened to him. I have some disagreement with him. He kind of introduced this lack of political will to actually prosecute those people.
Right.
And you could see the response of the former Attorney General that there's not enough evidence. If you take this kind of evidence to court, you will not get any conviction. And you see, before you prosecute people, we have two tests that we use: the evidential test and the public interest test. The evidential test will need to be met before you can even decide whether it's even in the public interest to prosecute. And taking somebody's life, there's always public interest to prosecute that person. And if, in fact, if it is even attack on the journalists, that is actually an attack on the Constitution, because they have a constitutional mandate to discharge. And if you attack them purely because they are journalists, they are carrying some information you don't like, that is even more serious. It's gone serious than the general population. So for me, the right to life is very fundamental. And I would like to think as a country, we don't actually take it very seriously. You see, when you have the right to life, it doesn't mean people may not take life occasionally for whatever reason. But we need to differentiate the difference between taking a chicken life and taking a human life. With a chicken life, why there might not be proper investigation? With human life, we must actually stop it. And it is in the public interest that such people should be sent to high-secure prisons so that they don't take further lives. But why do I say we don't take it seriously? Look at the police system. If they cannot, even look at the way it is, either the way it is structured, they cannot even resolve some of these simple cases. I mean, Swale just one. My constituency, there was a chief police just about 5-6 months ago. Regional minister visited. Somebody was shot, apparently by a member of the security services. The family doesn't know what is happening. What do they call it? Lorry. There was incident. Kumasi. No. There are several incidents.
And that's the reason why I'm asking what
do you understand that?
Value life.
So one, we might value life. One, maybe the police service and the infrastructure doesn't support crime detection. Look at when there was an attempt to bomb London Underground. Within 72 hours, they were able to identify the individual. Some of them cross-border, they managed to track them down and bring them. Do we have such infrastructure? Do CCTV cameras and other things to support the police service? Maybe we don't have that infrastructure. And regardless of how much pressure we put, either on Akufo-Addo or John Mahama, they are not able to reverse unless they buy a time machine. Maybe we need a time machine. And is there such a machine to reverse time, to re-record things? No.
Now you're doing quantum physics.
No, yes, I mean time machine. So if you don't have the infrastructure put in place and that didn't happen, it wasn't captured. Unless maybe, of course, future, maybe the next 100 years, they might detect something like that. The police themselves, do they have the appetite to deal with this issue? Like, we heard some names being mentioned. And generally, there are some people in our society now. Are you part of it? So that boils down to training. And even the motivation why people are in the police service. Some police officers, when you just meet them, it's just like I'm there for my daily bread. There's no motivation as to why they are even doing it. So no matter what amount of pressure you put on them, that attitude is not there. I'm not blaming the police, but it's a multiplicity of factors that we need to take in. So for me, I don't really believe there are political reasons why there are no prosecutions. I do believe the police have not provided an adequate docket that can secure prosecution. And if you rush the court simply because you want to rush the court, and because of these double jeopardy rules, if you take somebody through a trial and discharge them, and then you can't bring them back.
Even for
no. You see that double jeopardy rules are there. And we just really need to make sure that we get the right person. And not necessarily taking somebody through trial if it turns out they are innocent. As Neem rightly said, it's better you let 10 people to, who are what they call it, innocent, free,
guilty-free,
rather than because of one guilty person, 10 innocent people are put behind bars. So whilst I appreciate the need to solve crimes, we need to do it lawfully. And we need to start putting the infrastructure into place. And I think this is where neo-Martin politics come in. But it doesn't. If you look at our manifesto, we introduce the concept of bringing more CCTV cameras at particular vantage points.
When you say your manifesto, how
yes.
Because you had a manifesto.
Our 2024 manifesto.
2020,
No. I mean our 2024 manifesto, of which we still have them in the 2028 manifesto. because we really need to resolve some of these things.
Irrespective of who becomes your flag bearer, you still have it as 2028.
Look, I'm very confident that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to be our flag bearer. I've gone round with that campaign, and I'll urge the rest of the delegates who are still haven't decided, come and join us. And those people who have already joined, Ken or Brian Achampong, please. Come and join us. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia represents our best hope in 2028. Let us not gamble. These people, they are incompetent. If we allow them one more, they will damage everything.
It's landed a blow that I have to respond to. You see?
There's no time, my friend.
No.
You can't respond to
everything.
I'll let you
Okay, I take the incompetence back. There's no need to
Let me respond to this one. I'll give you. Okay, so I have about 3 comments here. I'll do this one here. I'll give you an opportunity to respond. So this person says that, and please add your names when you're sending or where you are sending it from. He says, if this case, and he means Ahmed Swali case, is not treated with good judgment, then all journalists in this country are at risk, regardless of the political party in power. How can we live in a country like this when the voice of the people through people are being killed? Another person says that, good morning to you and your cherished viewers and listeners. And Ishak, this, I'm sure it's coming to you. Okay. Why are we being hypocritical? Why are we beating about the bush? If a commoner of a citizen shows the picture of a journalist and says that when you get him, beat him, whatever happens, I'll pay allegedly, then boom, next time the person is murdered, would that person be made to walk free even if he didn't pull the trigger? Yeah. But who is it that started this whole saga, whether intentionally or not intentionally, and why is he walking free? So, Ishak, this one is to you. Okay, so need 1 minute to
me? I've spoken about this. Powerful people.
Okay.
I just pray. I'm just making an observation. I pray that this gamble of repeating Dr. Bawumia is handsomely rewarded by the Gen Z, because there's one fundamental. One day when we come to discuss this candidature, and clearly, we probably will discuss the candidature in the near future once the elections are done with. Whether he still remains a credible alternative to what we have now. Because I don't think that, I think it's a very huge gamble the MPP are taking. But anyway, let's wait for the future. God willing, inshallah, we are all alive. I mean, he's sitting here, the one thing that he was going to complain about this year is no more. He has good electricity, fuel prices are going down. The dollar, the one thing that his candidate couldn't speak about throughout his election was the issue of the economy and the forex exchange. For one whole year, we had an economist who could not speak to the economy during an election.
He's speaking about the digital economy.
He moved for somebody who said, when you have issues with the economy, watch the exchange rates, because that is a true teller. He never spoke about anything to do with digitization. Today, when we have the CD at 10 point something, we cannot hear Dr. Bawumia saying anything. We are waiting. I said, as for this election, I always make this analogy.
When the fundamentals are
we have a KNUST trained PhD holder who is running our economy, and where he's brought us, as opposed to
you see
an Oxford trained PhD holder.
When you run it this way,
Vice was never your finance minister. Maybe you are mistaken.
So Isha, that's the point I'm making. He's running this way. You're talking about, I'm sure you say the KNUST trained economist. That's
Did you hear of the economic management? Do you remember a particular person standing at a rally and mentioning the names of the economic management which he chaired, and claiming that they were the best that has ever happened, and asking to compare and for us to name the economic management team of the NDC? You remember?
Yes, but it's a team. When the Black Star does not perform, it doesn't mean that Jordan Ayew is a bad captain.
You see, we will discuss. We will have time. We will have to right now. Let them go through their election and elect him.
But they are saying that NDC is saying this because you are afraid of Bawumia. That's what you are trying to say, that if you bring Bawumia, it's a repetition. Because you see, it happen to be an easy beat.
I honestly believe that the MPP should go ahead and elect Dr. Bawumia, because if there's one candidate who has no credibility, and I repeated this last year on various platforms that he and I met, I said, in this election, Ghanaians are very objective. This Gen Z generation, they verify everything. They look for a candidate with credibility. And if you're a candidate who, throughout your life as a candidate, one of the things you used to espouse was your skills as an economist. And when you are put in the position, you run that economy to 17 cities and 16 cities in the dollar. And today it is 10 points, whatever to the dollar. Then you see, that's the thing about Dr. Bawumia. Anytime you push him to take responsibility for the failures of the Akufo-Addo administration, he tells you that he was not the president.
So like you said,
when those
MP, like you said, he might come up and will say,
a candidate that cannot take responsibility.
When those MP were marching to remove somebody, it wasn't the vice president they said they should remove.
They were marching to remove
the people of Ghana are very fair. They know where the blame lies.
Okay.
So they don't blame the wrong person.
Viewers, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, gentlemen, I need to sign out. Thank you very much for the discussion. Thank you for the time spent with us. Thank you, Nick Akpo. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Jalil Ishak. And also thank you for Krobia for joining us via Zoom. The discussions have been really engaging. I go back to my earlier reflection. We are Ghanaians. Whatever it is that is given to us, let's treat it with trust. Let's be honest with our living. Let's have a culture of maintenance and not just a culture of procurement, because that is what enriches us. Let the discussions continue in your home. See you same time next week. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Was brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.